Conscious awareness can entirely shift your quality of life. Most suffering in life doesn't come from the pain of events that happen to us. Most of it actually comes from what happens after the pain of life. In Buddhism, they describe this as the first and second arrow of suffering. So the first arrow of suffering is inevitable. Just by nature of living on this planet with all these different people, everyone has different goals, needs, desires, things that they're trying to accomplish, feelings that they're having. People are going to bump into each other. Systems are going to fail. Things are going to happen that are going to hurt you just by nature of being alive. There's always going to be disappointment, grief, rejection, uncertainty, any kind like stress, embarrassment, shame. Ooh, shame is the hardest one to feel. Those things are going to happen. It's inevitable. But the second arrow of suffering is the one that is entirely avoidable. And that's the arrow that we shoot at ourselves after the first arrow hits. So if you think about it, what do you do to yourself when something unfortunate happens to you? When somebody upsets you, someone hurts your feelings, something you do doesn't turn out to be as successful as you've made a mistake of some kind. Any of those life events that happen they're going to happen. What happens next? Do you start overthinking, catastrophizing, thinking out to all of the worst possible things that could happen and then living there? Do you start beating yourself up? Are you spiraling into like a shutdown where you're upset and you get really depressed and you don't want to talk to anybody and you're like lock yourself in your room with some Oreos for a weekend? Nothing bad about that. Sometimes you have to do that. But if you're going to eat the Oreos, there's a way of doing it that is actually healing versus doing some of these more unhealthy second arrow things. So when that moment of dysregulation hits, that first arrow that is absolutely going to happen, how you tend to yourself in that moment is a game changer. That moment is a crossroads where if we derail into our old habits and patterns, we are going to create a life where we experience more of the exact same suffering that we've always dealt with. If instead we have a moment of conscious awareness where we come outside of ourselves and we watch what we're dealing with and we say, I'm choosing differently. That is conscious awareness. And the moment you can come to your suffering, your struggles, your dysregulation with that mindset is the moment that your whole life will start to change. And it'll change not because there's some mystical magic juju that you're putting out into the world. It changes because you change. Your expectations of life, your habits and how you process things, how you come to your suffering, when that changes, everything else follows. So when you think about it, this second arrow of suffering, it's kind of like pouring gasoline onto a burning fire. If I lose my job, for example, that's a first arrow. That's going to hurt. That's going to be really hard. How do I talk to myself after that? Do I spiral into, well, I should have gotten a different major. I shouldn't have done that. And what an idiot. And well, what are all these things that I've been doing wrong at work? And spiraling into, well, so-and-so said this and so did that. And now I feel like I have to justify that I did a good job because now I feel shame because I've been fired. And oh my God, it comes with so many emotions. And then I just spiral out into overthinking. And if I overthink long enough, then I'm just going to lose all of my energy. And I'm going to collapse because it's too much. None of that is helpful. None of that, it just makes the pain you're already dealing with worse. So what do we do here in Rooted EQ? Well, you're going to have these waves of suffering that you're going to have to ride, right? There's always going to be waves in the ocean, but it's so much easier to navigate those waves with a surfboard. So we craft a surfboard here at Rooted EQ by introducing conscious awareness. When we create a separation between the experience that is happening in our body and mind and our conscious self that is tending to all of that, then we totally shift the entire experience. Instead of being dragged underneath the waves and being tossed around and drowning inside of them, we're on top of them with perspective. We're seeing the whole picture. We're not assuming and spiraling into anxiety or shutdown. We're keeping an openness of perspective, context, slowing down, staying regulated within ourselves. It really does shift the whole process of the suffering that inevitably happens to all of us. Conscious awareness allows us to crack a window where we make peace with pain, where we accept pain is here, suffering is here, it's not going anywhere. Doing this work is not about never being upset. It doesn't mean that you're not going to reach some point in life where nothing ever hurts. Being conscious inherently comes with empathy and compassion and emotional connection to yourself. You're going to feel big feelings, but you're going to feel them and experience them differently when you invite conscious awareness, this watching and observing and labeling and managing of the experience, rather than spiraling out into reactive or shutting down behaviors.